Hello and welcome to today's video lesson. I am Richie Simon, Assistant Professor from the Bhopal School of Social Sciences, presenting before you NGO registration. After going through this video, you will come to know why NGOs should be registered, what are the different legislations under which an NGO can be registered, and we will have a comparison between trust, society, and non-profit company. Why NGO should be registered? It helps to establish transparency and accountability. When an NGO is registered, it becomes accountable for the people, the NGO owners, the directors, the people in command to actually be accountable for the work that they are doing. Also, this establishes transparency in the system. An NGO gets the recognition of a separate legal entity. Being a separate legal entity, it can have its own seal, the common seal, as well as it will be recognized by the society at large. It gives legitimacy and credibility to the organization. So people don't really have to get confused as to what this NGO is, what is the work it is doing. It will be giving credibility to the organization and an identity to the organization as well. NGO registration also gives the leverage of tax exemption, and registration is important for the application of ATG deduction and FCRA. So it gives us tax exemption as well as it helps with the foreign funding as such. Registration of an NGO is a step towards applying for 12AA with Income Tax Department. So it has got its legal benefits associated if an NGO is registered. It gives the credibility to approach prospective donors or institutions because the NGO is now having an identity. It is having a recognition in the society, and so the donors and the institutions will not really question as to what this organization is really doing. That's where NGO gets a recognition once it is registered. What are the different legislations under which NGO can be registered? Here on the screen, you can see the three prominent legislations under which an NGO can be registered. The first one, that is Societies Registration Act of 1860. Now, why an NGO should be registered under the Societies Registration Act? If it is meeting literary, scientific, philanthropic purposes, and its intention is not towards profit making. The next legislation under which an NGO can be registered is the Indian Trust Act. Now, when an NGO should be registered under the Indian Trust Act? For any lawful purpose which is not fraudulent, does not implies or causes injury, it is not forbidden by the law, and which is not immoral. So basically, if the organization is doing any activity which is lawful, which is not resulting into any injury, which is not fraudulent, and which is not forbidden by the law, it is not immoral. In that case, the organization, the NGO, can be registered under the Indian Trust Act. There is another act, that is the Indian Companies Act 2013, under which the NGO can be registered. Here, the purpose should be promotion of commerce, arts, science, charity, or any other useful purpose. However, here the intention of the organization is to apply the profits with the mechanisms of the organization concerned. To get a better picture of Trust, Society, and Companies Act, let's move to a comparison between them. Now here, on the screen you can see that we are having certain criterion, and we have Trust, Society, and Companies Act. We will be making a comparison based on the different criteria stated here in the table. The first is the statute or the legislation under which the registration should be made. Obviously, for the Trust Act, it would be Indian Trust Act. For the Societies Act, it will be Societies Registration Act. For the Companies Act, it will be Section 8 of the Indian Companies Act 2013. What is the prime objective or the activities under which you should register an organization as trust, society, or companies? For a trust, the surplus cannot be used other than fulfilling the object, that is social benefit. Same is what is applied over to society, same is what is applied over to companies. The surplus cannot be used other than fulfilling the object, that is social benefit. What will be the nature of control? So who is going to control a trust? It will be the founder, the trustee, or the board of trustees. When it comes to the society, the decisions will be taken by the mechanism of voting. When it comes to the Companies Act, the decisions will be taken by the board of directors. Moving forward to the fourth criterion, that is jurisdiction. The trust will be falling under the jurisdiction of the deputy registrar or the charity commissioner of the area concerned. The society will be falling under the jurisdiction of the registrar of societies. And if an organization is registered under the Companies Act Section 8, the jurisdiction of the regional director and the registrar of the Companies Act of that concerned area will be there. What are the main documents that you need if you are registering for a trust? One thing, that is the trust deed. So trust deed is a must in case if you are registering your NGO under the Trust Act. If it is under the Societies Registration Act, then you need two documents to be present, that is Memorandum of Association and the bylaws. So you need to have the name of your NGO, the address, the composition of it. All of this will be coming in the Memorandum of Association, and bylaws, which will be comprising of the rules and regulations governing that concerned society. If we are going with the Companies Act Section 8, in that case, what documents should be there? The Memorandum of Association and the Article of Association. What about the stamp duty in case if we are going for a trust? It will be done on a non-judicial stamp paper, and the amount of it will be decided by the state. When it is about the society, you do not require a stamp paper, but then the registration would be on the simple A4 paper. When it comes to the Companies Act, again, a requirement of the stamp paper is not there. What is the minimum requirement? How many people should be there if we are going ahead with the registration of a trust? It's simple. You just need 2 trustees to be there, a minimum of 2 trustees for registering an NGO as a trust. When it comes to a society, there needs to be 7 members at the state level. And in case if we are going ahead with a national level society, in that case you need 8 members from the different states. For the Companies Act, you need at least 2 directors and shareholders. What's going to be the area of activities? When it comes to the trust, its functioning can be across India. So whole of India is the place where a trust can actually be functional. What about the society? If there are 7 members, the activities will be restricted to that concerned state. And if there are 8 or more people coming from different states, in that case, it will be nationwide. For the companies, again, the area of activities will be whole of India. Across India, the company can function, the company which is registered under Section 8. Now, can it really promote microfinance? A trust? No, it cannot do. A society? No, it cannot do. But if the NGO is registered under the Companies Act, yes, it can do. So you can promote microfinance, you can have the activities pertaining to microfinance in case if an NGO is registered under the Companies Act Section 8. Registration with income tax 12A and ATG as NGO, it is allowed with whatever legislation the NGO is registered with. So either as a trust or as a society, or as a company, it is permitted to have the tax exemptions coming under 12A and ATG. Borrowings, from where can you really take in money? A trust can borrow from the author of the trust only. When it comes to the society, it can borrow from its members, and when it comes to the company, it can borrow from the members, from the shareholders, from the banks, and also from the institutions. How about the dissolution? So can we really dissolve a trust, a society, or a company, and what will be the procedure there? Dissolution in case of a trust, it is generally irrevocable, which means once a trust is formulated, Ideally, it will not undergo this process of dissolution, but it is possible. It is possible as per the trust deed. So if the document, the trust deed document, suggests that the trust can be dissolved and there is a procedure stated there, obviously the trust can be dissolved. How about the society? If 3/5 of the members so say that the society should be dissolved, in that case, the society can be dissolved. When it comes to the company, if the shareholders so desire, in the annual general meeting, in that case, dissolution of the company, which is registered under Section 8, can be done. How about the cost and transparency? Cost and transparency in the case of trust and society, both it is low cost and less transparent, because you do not have much of the procedures, you do not have much of the operations to be meant for the maintenance of these organizations. But then when it comes to an NGO, which is registered under the Companies Act, it is high cost and more transparent. So if the cost is increasing, the transparency is also increasing. And if the cost is less, in that case, the transparency is also less. So is the case with the trust and society. But then with the Companies Act, we have high cost and more transparency. So that's it for the video. I hope you understood the differences between trust, society, and Companies Act with a comparison made between them, the idea why an NGO should actually be registered. Thank you for watching the video. Until we meet next, keep learning, keep growing, stay safe.